Squirrel Shuriken. Today, we review The Way of the Ninja. Ninja disappear. Kakuranger. Appearance Jutsu. Perfect. Hello and welcome to KamenRider Blackman, and today we will finally be reviewing Ninja Sentai Kakuranger Ninja. Okay, I'm done. I'm kidding. Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. Finally, our first ninja-themed Sentai. Ooh, I almost feel bad that I reviewed Hurricaneger first. This show is so... I have a new appreciation for this show now, since this is my second time rewatching it. My first time was back in high school, freshman year, and I binged this my whole spring break. But I don't think I finished the show then because the last few episodes weren't subbed. But man, rewatching it now, I appreciate almost everything a lot more. But not just that, considering where we are now with Sentai, it's nice that story matters more than selling the toys. Because look at King Oger, honestly. Like, it wasn't about selling the toys, like, at all, or the gimmicks, or the Shugat stuff. It's like, it focused all on the story, and from there, you appreciated everything more. The characters, the villains, certain aspects, like maybe the toys, some gimmicks that they had. And in this show, yeah, it's all here. Like, you appreciate everything, from the characters to the villains to the themes. And I love that. I like it when story matters more than trying to sell a product. And let's get into the show now, because I'm talking about how much I admire the show, but I'm not even getting into detail. So let's start now, starting with the opening. What in the world was that? Da, da, da. I love this opening. Kakuranger ninja. It's a good opening. It makes me jam out so much. I wish I was playing it right now on my phone, but I already did that in the opening. But yeah, this opening, Secret Kakuranger, it's a good song. Matter of fact, it's a really good song. It's 31 years old, and it still holds up. Honestly, play it at a party, people will enjoy it. Even the ending theme, too. It's a fun little dance, mellow out song. It's awesome. Play this in a party, too, and it'll be great. Oh my god. The music grabs my mind so much. And so, let's get into the first episode. Episode 1, We Are Ninja. We open to a storyteller telling a story in the form of Rakugo. For anyone who's unfamiliar with forms of Japanese entertainment, Rakugo is a form of stand-up comedy in Japan where the performer sits on a raised platform called a koza and tells funny stories with a paper fan and a small cloth. And this style of entertainment dates back to the Heian period. Now, the first half of the show is rather comedy-focused, but it's also historical too, which plays a big theme, amongst other things, in this show. Because the monsters for this show are yokai, monsters of Japanese folklore, and the announcer, and eventually the monsters themselves, tell their backstories for which one's the monster of the week. And the announcer at least does it in the form of Rakugo. Hell, the actor they even got to be the announcer was an actual Arakugoda. And so now, back to the first episode, The announcer is telling a story dating back to the Sengoku era. Five ninjas of fiction. It's so out there that this show made these characters of Japanese folklore real and giving them descendants. That would be like if Sun Wukong was Goku's great ancestor. And so, five great ninjas known in fiction: Sasuke Sarutabi, Saizo Kirigakuru, Sekai Miyoshi, and Jiraiya work together with Tsuruhime to seal away the yokai. And so, years later, in 1994, we shift the focus to Sasuke and Saizo's descendants, who also share their names. I want to think their families knew of their ninja heritage. Heritage. I can't pronounce that word. Anyway, I want to think their families knew of their ninja heritage. Hey, now I can say it. Hence why they're named after their ancestors, and their personal lives are like Shinkenger, just waiting for the next yokai wave. But, spoiler alert, considering how 2 out of 5 of the Sentai were remotely aware and prepared, that doesn't seem like the case. But back to Sasuke and Saizo. It's been a long time since I've seen the first episode, because the first episode is crazier than I remembered. Sasuke and Saizo first see a guy accosted by punks and end up running a bag of money for him to an island. And then the craziness begins with them being hunted by future soon-to-be yokai. What happens next even makes me feel sad for him, because they weren't being stingy or greedy or anything. They were just doing a favor. But what happens is they're running for their lives, and they get cornered. And they got cornered into the door seals that, if opened, would free the yokai and restore their powers.
But here's my question. Who thought rigging a step to open the door was a good idea for security? Anyone could tip that off. And mind you, they would have bailed if they hadn't been accosted. So you know what? They have my sympathy. But they now need to be ninjas and make up for what they did. The next big thing that happens is the Phantom Castle comes up from the ground, and the next Kakuranger appears, Tsuruhime, to tell them they need to get their swords.
They get their swords, and their ancestors appear before them to give them their Doron Changers. So now we have 3 out of 5 Kakurangers. I'm not going to talk about their suits just yet. I'm going to wait until we get all 5 Rangers. Same for the mech, because we see it in the first episode scare off the first monster of the week. Just to get back to my theory, Muteki Shogun arriving to save them does refute my point about Sasuke and Saizo not aware of any of this, because they do not do that great at first. And so, episode 2, the next Kakuranger recruited is Sekai, and aside from that, Sasuke is pulled away from most of the episode to learn a new ninjutsu technique to grow into his mech form, which we'll get to later. Is it worth mentioning how the monsters grow in this show? Because it's pretty different from others at the time. Like, thinking back to the other 2 seasons, like in Zyuranger, like Pandora threw down a staff and the monsters grew that way. I forgot how the monsters grew in Vyram, but I remember in Live Man, someone fired a laser through a bazooka. In Dairanger, the monsters illegally possessed explosives and grew that way. In this show, it's just the monsters decide when they're gonna grow. They could be in the middle of a fight, and a monster would just say, "Well, fuck you, Kakurangers. I'm just gonna grow giant and beat you that way." Paraphrasing, but yeah, like, mind you, there's an external force of like negative energy that the yokai collect in order to be empowered like that. But yeah, how the monsters in this show grow is that they decide when they're gonna grow. Basically. Like, it sounds like they could do that at any time, and if it did, it would kind of be a little annoying and frustrating. But I will appreciate that they use it more as a last resort, as it should, because if a monster would be able to grow at any time, it would kind of be kind of boring, especially if they were winning. Like, why do you need a leg up when you're already doing well at normal size? Though I'm being honest, I'm probably saying that because I've been watching some early Mighty Morphin lately, and that's kind of a majority of episodes. Like, halfway through a fight, the monster's winning, beating the Rangers, and Rita just decides, make it grow, because it's not like the Megazord's going to beat it, when it will. But here, it's used better. Like, okay, I'm at a disadvantage. Now I'm gonna grow and gain into the advantage. And so, moving on. Episode 3, the last member to join is Jiraiya, who is played by action movie star Kane Kusagi very early in his career. I even bothered to look this up before the review, like trying to find some old interviews online about Kane Kusagi's time in Japan. This was very early in his career before he became a big star. And doing Kakuranger, I believe, was his first time or one of his first times going to Japan. Shoot, they had to, because he was so new to, like, I guess learning Japanese culture and even speaking the language, they coordinated a lot of his personality into Jiraiya. And shoot, as a matter of fact, this is another fun fact. Like, Kane Kusagi is the second American actor in history to be a part of a Sentai after the first Miss America from Battle Fever J. Though, here's my one question for him that I don't know to this day. Why does he dress like a cowboy when he's from Los Angeles and not Texas? I don't know. I don't know. But, anywho, Jiraiya's family moved to America after sealing away the yokai. It turns out the Jiraiya clan relocated to America to search for the 4 missing scrolls so the others can grow into mechs too. So, let's talk about the suits now that we have all 5 Rangers. I like these suits. These are my second favorite of the ninja-themed Sentai, and honestly, looking at these suits, they are what come to mind when I think of ninjas. Just that level of simplicity, all colored in, even no white on the necks, because that's colored in too. The helmets are pretty simple, but I love that too. They're very simplistic. The one thing on these suits I will critique, however, are their logos. Just not how the logo looks, but how they're all colored in. Like on Ninja Yellow, it looks the best because it's colored in yellow. And honestly, it should have been colored in yellow on the rest of them. But yeah, I like these suits. I don't mind them. They're pretty nice. And I guess while we're talking about aesthetics now, let's also talk about their weapons. Like, they have, of course, their ninja swords, their blasters, and they have individual weapons that I thought they didn't use too often. But honestly, rewatching this show, they use them every now and then, a bit more than I thought. Like, Red has a 3-pronged shuriken. Like, Blue has a water gun on his, like, mounted on his arm. Yellow has a claw, I guess. Yellow has a claw chain type of weapon, which is very ninja-esque. And Black has a wrist-mounted bow. It's like their weapons are pretty interesting. As well as, and White has that, I don't know what you call it, but yeah, their weapons are pretty different. As well as their finishers, which definitely harken back to Go Ranger, the Kakuranger Ball. And so, well, we're still on aesthetics, right? So, next thing definitely on my mind is their suits. Well, not their ranger suits, their ninja costumes that they wear every now and then. those are awesome costumes. Like, they're blacked out with scarves and belts corresponding to their ranger colors. Yes, just yes. Yes. Those are awesome suits. And I love the variety in helmets that they have. And I love seeing these suits in their transformation sequence whenever they morph. I love, they're awesome. Now, compared to Mighty Morphin, there's more of a reason why they have ninja costumes. They aren't just descended from ninjas, they also follow the way of the warrior, going on missions, practicing stealth. Could this be an alternative from morphing? Yes, but there's more gravitas here than there was in Mighty Morphin. Like, nothing in this show is just used for a motif, which is what I appreciate the most. So now, let's finally get into the mech. The Giant Beast Generals, aka the Shogun Zords. These aren't mechs that they pilot. This is the first time ever that the Sentai can become their mechs. And honestly, that's actually pretty cool. I'll never hate it when Rangers can become their own mechs. As a matter of fact, I feel like it's a matter of how it's done in the show. Like, keeping things dynamic as well as it fitting within the realm of the show. Like, for example, in Dawn Brothers, I didn't like it when the Rangers became their mechs because it was just introduced out of nowhere and it was just random. Dawn Brothers had like a Ready Player One theme to it, but they eventually just tossed that to the wayside over time. Here, it's ninja magic, ninjutsu. It's like they become their own mechs through literally practicing a technique. And hey, in Ninja Storm, like, their sensei turned into a hawk. Here, they turn into freaking giant robots. Ninjas, they're amazing. And shoo, while we're at it, Kakuranger also starts a trend for the next 2 years of Rangers having their own individual mechs. And honestly, that's just so cool. Just having five people pilot their own robots, then having it come together to form a bigger robot. Speaking of which, of said bigger robot, Muteki Shogun makes its proper debut with everyone forming it in episode 4. And so, Muteki Shogun, once again, 5 robots coming together to form a bigger robot? That's awesome. And Muteki Shogun's not my personal favorite mech, but the design and everything, it grew on me. Like, I like looking at it, and seeing it in motion, it makes sense. But, like, I don't know, just looking at this, I don't know, it makes you think, like, if Muteki Shogun was made today, they probably would have made it to be a bit more agile, maybe. But what we got here is still fine. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure if this was foreshadowing for later or not, because when we first see Muteki Shogun, it's a sentient being, but it's also something that everyone combines into. But why, we'll learn later. But Muteki Shogun also brings up an issue I had with season 3 of Mighty Morphin, which was its mech fights. Muteki Shogun is so powerful that it kills its opponents in under 20 seconds. At that point, like, I say it's an issue for me because, and I definitely say this from watching Power Rangers, why should the monster bother growing if it's just going to get killed immediately? But at least there's a reason why, and it's because due to the suit's design, Muteki Shogun was too bulky to move around in. That's why a majority of its fights, it's jumping straight to the finisher. But thankfully, that gets alleviated in episode 12, The New Jusho Appear. It's a revival of Old Monsters episode that introduces the second set of mechs for this show, the Jusho Fighters, slimmer versions of the Giant Beast Generals that are far more agile in combat. Now, before Muteki Shogun can kill the monster, these new Zords can wear them down. And the Jusho Fighters, I really like the designs of the Giant Beast Generals and how they are, but the Jusho Fighters themselves, slimmed down, I also just really find them to be awesome. Probably because they're not as bulky as other mechs, especially individual mechs. Like, the Jusho Fighters, all of them are, I want to say, they're as less bulky as Kishiryu by himself. And shoot, for anyone who hasn't seen my Hurricanes review, which by the way, go watch it. Why not? Then for then you would remember that I feel like the Jusho Fighters were the inspiration for Senpujin's Hurry Up mode. And now you can all see why. Shoot, they don't just look great, but they can also act independently of the Kakurangers too. Like, they work autonomously, and eventually the Kakurangers can join with them to pilot them. And even, like, as if this was a second form for them. They also don't combine. Like, there are times when they beat the Monster of the Week as a team individually, and that's awesome. Episode 12 also introduces our first recurring villain, Dr. Yugami, a yokai scientist that'll side with monsters to beat the Kakurangers. And so, episode 14, we get our first main villain, Prince Jr., the son of our big bad, the Daimao, and along with Junior are his own proto-evil rangers, the Flowery Kunonichi team, evil girl ninjas. Calling them proto-rangers might be a stretch, but they're more of specialized mook, but you get what I mean. And Junior is such a scary-ass villain. You're just afraid of what he's going to do next and how he's going to react. And he'll have moments when he looks into the camera, either to pan out the end of an episode, or if it's just a scene and he just so happens to be looking into the camera, you're afraid of how he's going to react. Junior's whole goal and motivation is to bring forth his dad from the Door of Seals to plunge the world into chaos. So, let's take a break from the story to talk about the first, shift in tone. We're 14 episodes in, and we now have a general in charge. How do I feel about it? Honestly, because the individual monsters are so unique, I don't feel anything lost now that they're falling in line. If anything, they're stepping up their game. Which brings me to one of my favorite aspects about this show, and that is the monsters. I love that we learn their backstories every episode with every new monster. They're so different from Monsters of the Week that we have gotten in any other Sentai before, or at least at this time, because, I don't know, if I watch an episode of, say, sure, Boon Boonger or King Oger, like now, you would just look at a monster and just think, there's a monster, it's evil, it doesn't really have any layers. But in this show, remember, the yokai are monsters of Japanese folklore, so they already have their own story, they already have a personality, and we see that literally explored in Kakuranger. Like, for example, there's the Amano Jaku, whose story was, he was, of course, an evil yokai that wanted to threaten a town, and he was eventually imprisoned. But then, of course, once he's freed again, he goes about his mischievous ways. But for a real example of how yokai are in this show, mind you, it's like the yokai in this show, yes, there are monsters from 1,000 years ago, but in this show, they're they're brought into the 90s. Like for example, the Oboro Grumarama, the yokai that was a haunted ox cart. In the 90s, it's a taxi cab who's fed up with passengers mistreating him. Thank God Uber didn't exist back then, man, because that dude would blow a fuse. Like, oh my god. I can't believe I'm mentioning this example, but I also really want to. Sonakaki Baba, the old maid yokai that threw sand on people for pranks. In Kakuranger, the source of her powers is in her boobs. I'm not kidding. That's an actual episode. If you freaking look up the monsters on Google, you might find a picture of her too to get what I mean. And dear Lord. And I'm sorry, I want to mention one more crazy example because it goes to show how the yokai really vary in this show from completely evil to just being a jerk. Like, oh my, what's even the ratio to describe that to? Like, Doc Ock to Doofenshmirtz? I'm not kidding. Just that level of sadistic to that level of petty, I guess. It's crazy, but I love it. And and there's another example I want to give that just breaks away from that. Episode 18. The yokai of that episode is Zakashi Warashi, and it's a spirit that loves to pull pranks and spread good fortune. So it's not a bad guy. Like hell, they make the Zakashi Warashi a little kid that just wants to play with other kids. But of course, to flex how evil he is, Junior threatens Jiraiya's life if Zakashi Warashi doesn't side with him. I find this episode worth mentioning because in the 30 years after special, well, yokai act a bit differently then. Of course, there are some evil ones too, as they are in the 30 years after special, but I feel like these are the one types of monsters in Sentai that have truly evolved because, like, I don't know, I'm diving in a bit into the 30 years after special now, but by then, yokai don't have their powers and they're just living lives. Like, think back to the first episode where it's been thousands of years since the yokai have been freed or had their powers sealed away. That's enough time to reflect on one's behavior and decide they want to start fresh. The Kappa wasn't a good example, but it goes to show that not all yokai are evil and just want to live in peace, whereas others want to cause trouble and need to be dealt with. Honestly, these are the most in-depth monsters we've ever had in Sentai, like ever. And so, I find this episode worth mentioning because of how sad it is at the end. And of course, there's more nuance that we do see later. And so, episodes 23 and 24 conclude the first arc of the show. Junior now takes action to summon his dad by performing a ritual that in the process turns people to stone. The Kakurangers are distracted by the monster of the week, so they can't stop Junior, and it's real bad. And here's the kicker. Muteki Shogun isn't enough to stop the monster of the week, and it loses immediately.
Everything seems lost until a certain white bird drops from the sky. The Falcon Zord, Tsubasamaru. It flies in and immediately changes the odds, combining with Muteki Shogun to make Super Muteki Shogun and beats the monster.
Say hello to my little friend!
By the time Super Muteki Shogun beats the monster, the Kakurangers get to dealing with Junior. The type of yokai Junior is a Gashadokuro. the skeleton monster that's made from the bones of people who have died of starvation or killed in action. They fight, and on the macro scale, Junior owns the Jusho fighters, and the Kakurangers are beaten again. And here is when Sandayu transports them to the Phantom Castle. Oh yeah, Sandayu. I haven't mentioned him up to now because he's very sporadic. Like, he shows up to dick around, then leaves. That's pretty much his character. But we all go to the Phantom Castle, and we learn about the history of the conflict with the yokai. 2,000 years ago, the Daimao led yokai in a war against humans, and opposing them were 3 sages who created a ninjutsu technique to seal the yokai. Before the 3 sages had died and reincarnated into the Heavenly Triad, aka the mechs of this show, Muteki Shogun, Tsubasa Maru, and the third one, Kakure Daishogun. And 400 years later, the Triad assisted the Kakurangers' ancestors with sealing the yokai away again. The explanation is a bit complicated when you think about it, that Muteki Shogun is its own person, and the techniques they use aren't imitating, but awakening him in the form of his components. There's just so much to think about, like when they form Muteki Shogun, who's in the driver's seat. But each of the mechs holds the essence of their form of ninjutsu. For Muteki Shogun, its body. For Tsubasa Maru, its heart. And for Kakure Daishogun, its technique. But unfortunately, the 5 scrolls to summon their mechs for Kakure Daishogun were lost a long time ago. So in order to find them, everyone has to split up and meet back in 1 month's time to stop Junior.
See you again, my Kakuranger.
So that was Act 1. The shocking change from comedy to serious was pretty gnarly. And the transition was very gradual, showing that their threat is escalating, and now, well, shit hit the fan. Now, I haven't seen this show entirely since 2015, and now that sounds like a good thing because most stuff I don't remember. Rewatching, I like it all a lot more now. Like, for the next couple of episodes, it's just members of the Sentai getting their scrolls. And so, episode 25 is a bit special for me, since this was the first episode of Kakuranger I ever watched. And it stands out in my memory so much because Mei the Terror Ranger from Zoo Ranger guest stars, and she's paired with Sasuke as he gets his super stealth beast. So, episode by episode, everyone gets their new mechs. The one episode I didn't like per se was Tsuruhime's episode. I didn't like the message it was saying that, okay, the episode was trying to convey that caring for others is a good quality for a leader, but it also puts down Tsuruhime as a leader because she's a woman. And I don't get that at all for the life of me. Tsuruhime has to be second to Jiraiya to have been training to be a Kakuranger her entire life. Shoot, in the first episode, she solos the minions. Hell, in another episode, she solos some monsters again. Like, she's tough enough to literally be a leader. Like, and it's all worth bringing up because Tsuruhime is our first female leader in Sentai, and this episode doesn't do her justice. And so, another thing to mention before going further are a couple of characters that support Tsuruhime in this episode. There's Sandayu's apprentice, Boon, and his 2 dogs that I'll mention again later. And so, episode 27, the yokai of the episode is the Newell, and once Sekai and Saizo get their scrolls and meet their mechs, they send him down a chasm, and he's the monster of the week for the next 2 episodes. And so, episodes 28 and 29 are Jiraiya's trial to obtain his scroll, and his test is to face his old master. And fun fact, Jiraiya's master is played by Jiraiya's actor's real-life dad. That alone is awesome because, for one, Jiraiya's actor, Kane Kusagi, is an action movie star, and so is his dad, Sho Kusagi. And if anyone's familiar with either of their movies, please say so in the comments down below. Back to Kakuranger, we learn about Jiraiya's time in America, and when his dad died, his master and his family took him in.
But it turns out it was the master who killed his dad. When Jiraiya was a kid, his master got into a bad car accident that left his daughter critically injured. And seriously, what way was he going through a construction yard, and how did that not kill the both of them? Newell appeared before him and made him a deal. If he killed his best friend who is investigating him, he'll save his daughter.
That has to hurt, having to choose a life to save and a life to lose. That's so... Who told you to play God? Like, he was so guilty and could never make up for what he did, so he wanted to die. He wanted to die by Jiraiya avenging his dad. And their fight is magnificent. It's honestly one of the best pieces of choreography that come out of Super Sentai. No one's in suit. It's just 2 martial artists going at it, and it feels even better when you know the actors are father and son. Jiraiya disarming the claw on the master's hand just to use it against him. Awesome. There's so much fighting, so much conflict, so many emotions. Learning why he did what he did and coming to Japan to die by his student. Oh my God, it is heart-wrenching. It is all heart-wrenching, man. But now everyone's back and they all set their sights on Junior. Episode 30, we're introduced to a double agent. It's Tsuruhime's dad, who left on a mission when she was 7 that resulted in him joining the yokai under the name Hakumenro, who again is a previous Sentai actor. This time it's Vulegal 2 from Sun Vulcan, and he's not the only one. KamenRider from Die Ranger is also in this show, along with his twin brother, who played Blue Beat from Juko B Fighter. And they're actually pretty important characters. They were kids of a neighboring ninja family that served Tsuruhime's family, and when their parents died, they were taken in by Hakumenro.
And, as I said, they went out on a mission. Their characters, Taro and Jiro, got captured, and the only way to save them was for Tsuruhime's dad to join the yokai.
Naturally, she can't believe it, and once he starts beating the guys, her tune changes. And so, episode 31, Junior catches on to Hakumenro and confirms his theory by opposing it to Sandayu, and Sandayu doesn't deny it, and instead tries attacking Junior. Mind you, Tsuruhime's there, and he could have just kept denying it, because Hakumenro wants to keep his, dual nature secret, so no one needs to know. Well, no one must know. But no, as Junior is saying, Hakumenro isn't really on our side. He's actually a double agent. And Sandayu just attacks him and does not do anything to disprove him at all. But just to show how hardcore he is, Junior takes Sandayu's sword and stabs him to death with it. Jesus Christ. Like, it's not like Jiraiya disarming his dad for the claw weapon. No, Junior just did that for shits and giggles. The man had his own sword and could have just done him in himself, but no, take the man's sword, kill him with it, because he can just do that. Like, and shoot, I didn't talk about Sentai too much because, well, there wasn't much to talk about, but Jesus, man, he meant well. My God. And in the pursuing mech battle, Sentai informs everyone to form Kakuranger Daishogun just before he dies. Oh my God, Junior is an evil bastard, and I'm so happy he gets what he deserves here. But let's talk about, well, Kakuranger Daishogun. I'm just, Junior got me heated up, man. But yes, Kakuranger Daishogun. This is made from the Super Stealth Beast, to which all those individual mechs alone, they look awesome. Red's is my particular favorite because it stands on its own 2 feet, it's armed with dual swords, and there are a couple of times where it beats Monsters of the Week all by itself. And getting off of the Giant Beast Generals, these mechs are all pretty streamlined. And there's White's, whose crane resembles a paper crane. Still streamlined, but yeah. But Kakuranger Daishogun itself, meh, not bad. I think I might like Muteki Shogun a bit more, just by comparison. But this isn't too bad. Like, honestly, none of my favorite mechs are from this show, but this is a B or A, maybe somewhere in A or B tier mech, but that's just me at least. And its finisher is so dope because it's punching you out to death. And apparently there's some symbolism there too, like the wolf resembling, I want to say, a closed fist to punch you, while the ape, wait, no, I forgot which one. I think the ape on one arm is supposed to be a closed fist that's punching you, while the wolf is supposed to be an open palm. I think that's what it is in that particular order. But shoot, another thing to mention here is that Red is not in the middle. Like, Red's not the chest. Red is an arm, which here makes a lot more sense because Red's not the leader. White's the leader, and she's the head. So it makes all the sense in the world here. But yeah, Kakuranger Daishogun, not a bad mech. But I guess while we're at it now, let's discuss just the mechs in this show in general. Because Muteki Shogun is a large departure from Kakuranger Daishogun. We went from Ninja Sentinels from the last 30 episodes to now animals. Like, if you've seen season 3 of Mighty Morphin, like, you remember Kakuranger Daishogun, aka the Ninja Megazord, because it came first. Then they switched to Muteki Shogun, and yeah, here it's weird. Like, it made a lot more sense in it's weird here. Like, Mighty Morphin made it make more sense there, like the animals coming first and then getting the robots, because, well, in the case of Mighty Morphin, with how season 3 started, they needed a new set of Zords for all 6 Rangers. Here, it's kind of like de-evolution. It's like, it's weird that going from the robots to animals, because, I don't know, maybe a regular wolf is more intimidating than a wolf man? I don't know, but we honestly actually do see this again, too. Like, this type of thing happening, like, starting off with individual mechs and going to animals. Yeah, we're gonna see that again, too, in KamenRider whenever I review it. Once they get their legend mode mech.
With Tsubasa Maru, they make Super Kakure Daishogun and finally kill Junior. It's a Pyrrhic victory, however, since the Daimao has fully revived and has come to our world. And as for Hakamenro, his cover is still intact.
本当にもう妖怪は出てこないのかな。それは俺たち、いや人間の心がけ次第さ。この地上が再び憎しみや怒りで満ちればまた現れるかもな。
Uh-oh. Episode 36. A meteor crashes down, and after 10,000 years, no, it's Ninja Man. When it comes to Extra Rangers and Bangai Heroes, I don't care to differentiate the titles because of how synonymous they are together, and it just boils down to who looks more or less like a ranger. Either way, they're viewed the same.
So yes, coming off of Zoo Ranger and Die Ranger, Ninja Man is our first instance of an Extra Ranger.
He's an apprentice of the Heavenly Triad who was once tricked by the Daimao into attacking humans. He lied to him saying yokai were disguising themselves as people and got punished for it by sticking him in a jar and throwing him out into space. And if Daizujin taught us anything, it's that all the world's problems can be solved by littering out in space.
Ninja Man's design is also pretty nice, looking like an amped up version of the 5 Rangers, like being bulkier, helmet being similar, but with a silver mouthpiece. He could also grow to fight giant monsters, too, and even transform into an alternate form called Samurai Man, after anyone calls him a novice. Now, would a novice look like that on the first few weeks of the job and learn the Kamehameha?
Wrong, 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 wrong. Wrong, 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 wrong. You're wrong.
It's okay. His finisher is called the Samurai Rage Bomber, but come on, it's literally like the Kamehameha, because let's be honest, it's basically throwing your hands together and you throw a ball of light. How many times have we seen that in Tokusatsu?
Energy blast!
I'm just saying, it happens. And so, episode 42, Ninja Man gets captured by the latest yokai, the Dara Dara, and it absorbs Ninja Man's power. So now any damage it takes in battle will hurt Ninja Man too. In episode 43, the Heavenly Triad admits that, yeah, Hakamenro is playing double agent. So the Kakurangers go to him to learn about anything to help them against Dara Dara. However, Daimao was onto him the entire time and finally gets rid of him, like how Frieza did Krillin. But instead of this being a funny abridged moment or him blowing up, he just turns him to stone until he wants to use him again. And now, everyone except Sasuke is captured and gets their powers absorbed into Dara Dara. And with the yokai wreaking havoc, the Heavenly Triad have no choice but to intervene. So, episode 44. Before Sasuke could die by the hands of the flowery Kononichi team, he's saved by Boon and his guard dogs, who turn out to be Taro and Jiro.
Hakumenro did save them by surrendering to the yokai, but in turn they were turned into dogs, and unfortunately they can't stay human for long. They inform Sasuke of Dardar's weakness, that is, that he's a doppelganger of the Daimao, so if you injure the host, you'll truly injure the doppelganger and save everyone. Can we talk about how badass Sasuke is? Any opportunity he takes to solo the yokai, he owns it, and he does it here, breaking into the yokai's base, injuring the Daimao, and saving everyone.
I'm saving my thoughts for the character analysis, but man, Sasuke is such an underrated red. But with everyone free, the good guys save the day. But man, Sasuke pulling through, that did it for me for the rest of the episode, man. He came in clutch. And so, episode 50 starts the endgame of the show. The two monsters of the week are the Daimao siblings. The little brother gets destroyed, and the middle child, the sister, gets fused with power to become unstoppable. And so, episode 51, the Daimao frees Hakumenro from being a statue and casts a spell on him to wreak havoc. And the final plan is to create hatred from the attack by gaslighting people into blaming Tsuruhime for her father's crimes. And just for an ultimate mindfuck, the yokai tells Tsuruhime to go kill her dad, since it's the Kakuranger's duty to protect the public. How personally evil is that? Go kill your parent to not only save people, but to push forward my plans.
Forward my plans.
Forward your plans?
Are you?
No.
Good, because that'd be bad.
How bad?
I'd have to kill you.
That's bad.
Episode 52. Tsuruhime doesn't kill her father, thank God, but instead Taro and Juro charge out at Hakumenro while he's attacking his daughter, and the three of them fall off a cliff. I'm just watching this thinking they could do whatever to slow him down. And I never suggested how because I'm not her writer. They want to insist the spell on them is what killed them. No, that was the frickin' cliff. That was the cliff, man. That, like, hey, the spell did... No, that was the cliff. Well, aside from the Amazing Spider-Man 2 happening in this episode, the Kakurangers beat the Daimao's other sibling, and what the actual fuck... The spell breaks and Hakumenro lives, but Taro and Juro die. Balls to the wall is where this show is going.
You don't believe me? The second to last episode ends with our main villain saying fuck it, flies his base into our heroes. Is he done making the payments on that place, or is this for insurance?
And now our final episode, episode 53, Sealing.
After the whatever that was, that was just crazy. The Kakurangers prepare to fight Daimao until the Heavenly Triad stops them. If they destroy the Daimao, then the earth will be covered in hatred because the Daimao is the embodiment of hatred.
What the funkin' wagnall is that supposed to mean?
This is where the show drops the ball. I like the idea that instead of killing the final boss, we lock him back behind the door where this all started. But then the show goes from 0 to 100, ramping things up. So if the Daimao dies, then hatred will spread everywhere, and all the yokai they've defeated will be brought back to life. That I don't like. That's too much. It'd be one thing that if they killed the Daimao, the whole world would be corrupted. But no, literally undoing 52 episodes of survival? Nah, I'm good. Nah. But let's go back in episode. When the good guys defeated the final monster of the week, they were empowered by hatred, and they got rid of that source. But now if they kill the final boss, it's all going to come back with a vengeance. what happened to acknowledging the essence of their ninjutsu? I'd rather the final episode be all about that, but instead we got feelings and love and bad vibes, I guess, to lock away in our hearts.
So what happens? Sasuke looks into his heart and summons the Door of Seals. They push Daimao back behind the door and hook their changers up on the door to keep it shut. And there, they save the world. Oh, and all the yokai they've ever defeated, they're all back behind the Door of Seals because it's hell, I guess? Though I will admit, the last shot of all of them is very creepy, just coming up against the door like, oh god, no, that's hell. That is hell.
And that was Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. Like the show, the finale made my head explode. Just, that I really wish the final episode just focused on the essence of their ninjutsu to defeat the Daimao and not just feelings and negativity. And as long as you keep that hate deep in your hearts, no, I hate that. And the 30 years later special is not even about that, thank God. Just Anyway, show's over. Let's talk about the characters. Sasuke, Ninja Red. He's awesome. One of my favorite Red Rangers in Sentai. Where he ends off is a completely different person, and I dig it so freaking much, man. Sasuke is so awesome because he comes in the clutch always. And episode 25 with him getting a scroll, one of my favorite episodes in this show. But with Sasuke as a character, he's easy to not, I don't want to say not take seriously, but he is one of the reasons why this whole show started. But he made up for it so much by becoming such a warrior. Sasuke, he's worth all my respect, man. He's great. So next, Tsuruhime, our fearless first female leader. Not a bad character. She definitely got the most in terms of story. Where Sasuke grew in development, Tsuruhime grew in story. Seeing her dad again, going through all those motions, just for her to pull through and be better. Her episode was all about being a caring person for a reason. She is caring. She's also the youngest among them, which is surprising. And she's in charge. Hey, she owns it. And yeah, she owns it. I appreciate her. If I was honestly on her team, I would not mind following her command. So next, Saizo. Saizo's an interesting character. Does he grow throughout the show? Yes. I feel like his strong suits are always in his focus episodes, where honestly, this show does have quite a few kid plots, but they do further develop the characters. Saizo especially, because he shows how compassionate he is, and also just how strong he is as a warrior. Anytime Saizo gets a focus episode, he owns the monster in combat. But even without being tied in kid plots, I can still take Saizo seriously, and he can hold his own as a ninja, and does plenty of times, man. Especially at it's pretty interesting too, because Saizo does have his moments where he can backtrack a little and freak out at something at first. But then he moves like 3 steps forward, like straight up punching whatever issue in the face. So next, Sekai. If I can be honest, I think Sekai is the least developed of the 5. Like, does he get focus episodes? Yeah. But I feel like compared to the others, he's the one left behind a bit. Like, he likes girls, he's kind of like Saizo, but I can honestly say more about Saizo than I can about Sekai. But that's not a bad thing either. He's not a bad character at all. He definitely is a different person by the end, and even in the 30 Years Later special, which, for as much as I talk about that special, I think I might just review that afterwards. But yeah, Seikai's not bad. Next, Jiraiya. Jiraiya, phenomenal character. Like, does he have a lot in terms of development? Yes and no, but his trial with his dad and getting his scroll, well, not his dad, his master, but, and you get what I mean. With Jiraiya, with him getting his scroll, facing his master, learning the truth and all, my heart went out to him with all my sympathy, man. But even without that, Jiraiya was still a fun character to pay attention to. Like I said, he is out of the 2. No, like, he is the second out of the 5 Sentai who knew the yokai were coming and was in serious mode almost all the time. But yeah, Jiraiya, I liked him. He was amazing. He is awesome. So next, Ninja Man. Ninja Man is so great. He comes in pretty late in episode 36. And after that, there are 17 episodes left. But when he was there, he got focus. He got development. Ninja Man was just awesome support. Is he a bit crazy? Yeah, but I freaking love that about him. His dedication to the job and his overzealousness is his downfall. But he learns and he grows. Somewhat. And is still overzealous. Like, I'm thinking back to like the one Christmas episode where where the yokai of the episode was imitating Santa. And Ninja Man just brings Santa on their their cat bus, Nekomaru, to go deliver the presents. How do you get the keys to the van? I don't know, but it's Ninja Man. You can't hate him forever. Or if you did, he'd be sad, and he doesn't need that. He's a good boy. Like, right? Ninja Man's just awesome, man. Honestly, Ninja Man is more of a 6 Ranger than Kiba Ranger and O Ranger, man. And that's saying something. But I think what helps is that Ninja Man is there every episode. And so we grow with him more. And we have more of a chance to like him. Where I just mentioned, last season's and next season's 6 Rangers, they were sporadic. But Ninja Man, he's consistent. And so, that has been Ninja Sentai Kakuranger. How do I feel about the show? I love it. I love almost everything from this show. The story, the characters, the villains. The villains were so entertaining. Like, Junior is scary as hell, but he was a good villain for the arc. And the Daimon was just as good. The one thing about this show, however, I will say holds it back, is the final episode. Should have been a bit different. It has good aspects, but the whole feeling thing, that brought it down some. But overall, this was my second watch of Kakuranger. And I really like this show. Like, it's on my top 10 now. And so, I just love Kakuranger. Like, weirdly enough, like, after I finished this show, I wasn't so amped, but now, I'm amped now. Everything is so appreciated from this show. But, with that said, thank you all for watching. Please not forget to like, subscribe, share this video. Tell me what you guys think about Kakuranger in the comments. And please look forward to my next review. That will be QQ Sentai Go-Go 5. Go-Go 5. What a transition from ninjas to public service. But look forward to that review. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.